Hello, this is Grandmaster Ronald Stone. I want to welcome you to another one of our Hapkido podcasts. Encourage you to look into joining the USA Hapkido Union. In our last podcast, we talked about some of the benefits and some of the techniques to become a good instructor. And I know that on the internet there's certainly tons of demonstration videos, but it's not quite the same thing to see a technique and understand what it is, why it is, how to use it. I always tell everybody, my students, it's kind of like watching a video instruction on fixing something mechanical, and they say, remember to tighten the screw. Well, how tight is tight? And until you actually have someone put a screwdriver in your hand and you tighten it until it either breaks or comes loose, you're not going to understand how tight is. So the communication becomes very important. Tighten it until it doesn't turn anymore. Don't over tighten it or the screw will break. Make sure you explain it well. So in order to become a good martial arts instructor, the second point we have in our podcast lessons is to master the art of clear and concise communication. And I'll admit, I'm guilty of not always following that myself. Just note this podcast. But at any rate, the first thing, of course, in order to develop clear and concise communications is to develop effective techniques for explanation. These techniques, these effective teaching abilities, all hinge on the ability to articulate difficult, complex concepts and techniques in a way that is easily understood or digestible for students of all levels. This means using precise language, breaking down movements into manageable steps, providing clear demonstrations, and offering constructive feedback. You got to avoid jargons and shortcuts, and you need to adapt a communication style that the audience will understand and respond to. Clear explanations have an impact on learning. They minimize confusion, and clear explanations accelerate understanding. Students can grasp the subtleties and nuances of techniques more readily, and therefore this leads to faster skill acquisition and reduced frustration. Well-articulated feedback helps them identify areas for improvement and makes necessary adjustments. And when you explain something clearly and you minimize confusion and you accelerate learning, you decrease frustration and a feeling of inadequacy and that I'm not going to be able to do this, I don't get it mentality. So in order to bring your students along, you have to understand that what you say and how you say it is very important. And this kind of stuff impacts retention. When students understand the why behind the what, they're more encouraged and motivated. Clear communication skills builds confidence and reduces the likelihood of students feeling lost or overwhelmed. And this contributes to a more positive and sustainable learning experience. The first time I met my current instructor, who's been my now Grandmaster instructor for, 23 years, something like that. I was looking to find a new school, find a new instructor, and I was on the mat and I saw this student performing a pumse, basic one, and I just happened to mention to the student that, had to correct his stance and his form a little bit, and Grandmaster Hackworth came over to me and said, I really appreciate your desire to help, but if you're going to help, please teach them correctly. And I went, well, what did I do correctly? And he said, your explanation was totally wrong, and he's not going to get it if different people are telling him different things. And I had heard an explanation of that form given before, but it was almost always, this is the way it's done. That was the explanation. It starts out this way, and you turn to the left, and you do it down, this and then the other. And nobody ever explained why. Well, once he explained to me why it's done that way, it was almost as if somebody had just said to me, guess what, the earth is round, not flat. It opened up a whole new world, and I just had to study with this guy. And of course, I looked into it, and surprise, surprise, he was right. And at that point in time, this was about 2002, I had been in the martial arts since 1970 and had studied 3 different martial arts, but I'd been in Taekwondo since the 70s, but again, on and off. And I had been in it regularly at that point in time when I met him for about 5 years, 3 or 4 times a week nonstop at 2 different schools. And at both times, the instruction was, this is the way you do it, and it was sort of a monkey see, monkey do, and we just assumed that this was why it was done that way. When he explained that this is what they teach you at the Master Instructor courses in Korea, and this is what the people who invented the Pomse, who developed it, had to say about it. This is what they meant. This is what it's about. It's not open to interpretation. In other words, this is what they mean. This is what it's for. And when you, quote, interpret it or guess at it or believe something incorrectly because, well, it makes more sense this way. No, that's wrong. And the students quickly, once they understand the right way to do it and why it's done that way and how it's done that way, it opens up a whole new world of, I want to learn more. I got to get this down. So I would advise you to try to master the art of concise, clear communication with effective explanations. And if you don't know, don't explain it wrong and don't guess. Look into it, say, I'll get back to you, let me check that out. And let's start educating and training and enlightening our students with the right and correct information. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rambles as always. This is Grandmaster Ron Stone, and hope to talk to you soon. Thank you for listening.